You're listening to Something Cheeky, a collection of podcasts where two sisters discuss TV, books, and movies with just enough irreverence and far too many pop culture references. Welcome to Something Cheeky, where we discuss the TV series Vikings. I'm Nikki.
I'm Rosanna.
Well, I've watched the entire series. Rosanna has only watched up to what we're covering today, which is Season 3, Episode 4, Scarred. In this episode, we learn that from England to Norway, everybody is making really poor life choices. Before we get into the action, we're going to read one of our reviews from iTunes. We love reviews. Please leave us reviews. They are awesome. This is from Shelley Monteith in the United States. Funny and irreverent, 5 stars. Listening to this podcast is like eavesdropping on two sisters who are having too much fun talking about their favorite things. Good insights into the first season of the show, and it will make you want to watch again, so you can appreciate the podcast and the nuances of the TV show even more. Love all the pop culture references. We love you too, Shelley.
Thank you, Shelley.
So listeners, if you want to leave a review, we will read it on the air.
Even if it's not 5 stars.
That's true.
We'll
if you give us 1 star,
it.
we will also read it on the air, and we will also judge you.
That's right. We'll disagree with you, but we'll read it.
But my mom thinks I'm cool. Actually, I'm not even sure that's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
That one's really up in the air right there. Let's get to it. Rosanna, you ready?
I am.
What was your reaction to this episode? Speaking of judgmental.
This episode, I'll tell you what. There was a lot of sex in this episode.
None of it was very exciting sex, though. It was kind of
None
meh.
of it was very graphic, but it was definitely implied heavily. I mean, we knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
So that was one piece of it. And then also, Siggy died.
Yes! That seemed kind of just shoehorned in.
I don't know how to react to that because, you know, she's been so worried the past couple of episodes and she's been dealing with so much anxiety and she just doesn't understand what's happening and what's going on. She's asking questions and then she just dies.
Yeah, and on the show even, no one really reacted to that. And maybe that'll change next episode, but we hardly saw any reaction.
Yeah, I feel like Rollo's going to feel really bad because he was so eager to get away from her. And he's going to come back and she's going to be dead.
Yeah.
And they didn't even, make a big scene. Like, where's Siggy? Oh, she drowned. She's in the water. She was saving the boys. Isn't this sad? No. It
was just over.
Yeah. It was strange.
Yeah, I read that she actually asked to be written off the show so she could have for family commitments or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's just what I heard. So I don't know how last minute it was.
Well, and I don't mind how she went. I think she went in a way that was true to her character, protecting the boys, looking after them, saving them, you know, sacrificing herself really is what she did. Also, we got the glimpse of her daughter and, you know, now we know that she's moved on to Valhalla and all that kind of stuff. I'm okay with the way the character died. I just think the reaction of the other characters was very strange.
Yeah. What was your favorite quote?
The quote I chose is by Applestand because I love him. And relations aside, I loved him in this episode also.
Yeah. I always love him.
Yes. The quote I chose is when he's talking to King Egbert, and Egbert's trying to get him to stay. Athelstan says, "I will go back with Ragnar. All my future lies with Ragnar."
Ah.
And so, obviously, I'm all about this bromance right now. I'm super jazzed that they're still getting along so well and loving and appreciating each other. And also, I found this quote a little confusing because he's just confessed his love to Judith.
Yeah.
He said, "Yes, I love you." But then he also says, "My future lies with Ragnar." So he's really putting Ragnar even in front of his own feelings for Judith. He's putting his feelings for Ragnar in front of that. So I'm interested to see what happens with Judith, if anything.
And I'm sure that he doesn't see any future with her anyhow. Her husband's back. It's not I'm sure he can be with her.
But still, I mean, they just told each other that they loved each other.
Yeah. Well, he could cause her to be in trouble by continuing an affair, too.
Of course.
And we all know he will sacrifice himself for the good of others.
I just, they didn't show us anything leading up to the moment that they were in bed together.
I was sad about that. I would have loved to see that journey.
And I kind of find it hard to believe that Applestand, knowing he's not going to stay and knowing what this is going to do to Judith, would still go ahead with it.
Yeah, I wish we had seen how they got to that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he made that decision, and I would have liked to have seen a little bit of, I don't know, inner turmoil, making this decision to go ahead.
Being able to see the moment when he finally gave in to his impulses rather than what he knew was right in his brain. Heart over head.
And also, I don't think that Athelstan makes a lot of decisions based on feeling. He's more of a thinker. I think he really considers all the repercussions of decisions he makes. But it seems to me that if we had seen what happened before this, it would have been sort of a emotional response, or just lust, I guess.
Mm-hmm. I think so, too.
Because if it had been a thoughtful decision, I don't think that this is the decision he would have made. It had to have been based on emotion.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's get into the action.
Okay.
So let's do Hedeby first. We don't get much there at all. We see Einar. His name just sounds weird. And I realize it's from a different language. But it's like, Einar! And it just describes how I feel about him.
We wouldn't think it was that weird of a name if he wasn't if he was a more likable character, we'd probably be okay with it. But he's just blech.
And it's not just that he is not a good guy. He doesn't seem very bright either. So he doesn't even have like the cunning villain kind of character going. It's just, it's unfortunate.
He has nothing going for him. He's not smart. He's not attractive. He's not evil. He's just bleh.
And from what we've heard, he seems cowardly.
Yeah,
So I assume he's not a great fighter either.
He probably hides during fights.
He reminds me of, was it Janice, the guy in Game of Thrones at the Night's Watch, where when they were being attacked at the wall by, I think, wildlings or something, he ran into the pantry with Gilly and the baby and hid in the room.
Oh, yes.
That's who he reminds me of.
Yeah. That's a good comparison.
Like he's going to run off with the women and children and...
Probably even push them out of the way on his way to where he's trying to go. Yeah.
Exactly.
He's... What's that guy we were just complaining about in episode 20 I just edited from Seinfeld, Jason Alexander's character? What's his name?
Oh, yeah. George?
Yeah, George Castanza. The episode where he's somewhere and there's like a fire or something and he knocks his mother over trying to get out.
Oh my god.
Yeah. He's like that. He's the George Castanza of Hedeby.
Oh man. I really hope that Kramer doesn't pop out of the door at some point because that would be horrible.
Yeah, we don't need Kramer in this episode.
No, we don't need Kramer in anything.
That's true.
Some listeners are like, Seinfeld was amazing. Nikki, shut up.
There are some real big Seinfeld fans, including Kramer fans, I guess. I just don't see it.
None of them are on this show.
To each his own, I guess.
So, George Costanza is worried that when Lagertha returns, she's going to have all their young people, all their kind of hardened soldiers that are loyal to her. And not
she's gonna be
Big
pissed.
Cow. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Have we ever seen her super angry at anyone besides Ragnar before?
Anyone besides Ragnar? No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. What do you think her reaction is going to be? Besides just being angry, what's she going to do?
Well, I think bringing in Erlander and, Torvi?
Mm-hmm.
Is a real pathetic...
And the Borg Jr.?
Yeah, is a real
Crazy Eyes Jr.?
Attempt to make this force stronger and to go anywhere. I think I would expect Lagertha to show up and to see what has happened and laugh. like this is what you're bringing right now, Erlander and baby Borg. You've got nothing. Nothing. I just can't imagine she's going to take it seriously. Because I wouldn't. This is pathetic. It's a pathetic attempt.
Do they even have men of their own? Does Erlander have an army?
No!
It didn't seem like it.
If Erlander does have an army, it would be of traitors, because they would be Horrocks men, but Horrocks men are supposed to be Ragnar's men now.
Yeah.
So if they are fighting for Erlander, they're fighting against Ragnar, and they're not supposed to do that because he's their king now. In fact, he's Erlander's king too.
Who would even follow Erlander
over
Ragnar?
He's like 12. I don't even understand what is happening here.
But now he's married to Torvi.
Yeah, he should just be grateful that they let him live, and he should stay away.
That sounds exactly what most Vikings would do.
He's not really a Viking, though.
You've really nailed the people in this show.
Yeah, he's not much of a threat. And neither's Baby Cow. I mean...
No.
No.
He's just a pretty face.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It's not like he's a fighter either.
And I don't really think he's that smart either. I think he is ambitious, but I don't think he's that smart.
Why do you say that?
Because he's trying to fight Lagertha, who is backed up by Ragnar. King Ragnar Lothbrok.
Yeah.
What could possibly make him think he has a chance?
I feel like what he said before about wanting fame
makes
him think he's more capable than he is.
Yeah, and I think, and I probably won't say this very often, but I think Einar has a good point. What about all of the men that went to fight with Lagertha, that saw what she accomplished, that have been following her and are loyal to her? They're not going to switch sides just because Erlander showed up? What? No. This plan is about as smart as Mouth Breather's plan was.
The last time that Lagertha's soldiers saw Baby Cow, he was just some regular dude.
Yeah.
He didn't have any claim to fame in any way. Lagertha liked him because he was unambitious.
Right, and also he was loyal to Lagertha, so these other men that come back with Lagertha are going to see him as a traitor.
A traitor.
Yeah. I don't think anybody even really liked Earl Douchebag, so I don't think that many people were upset that he died.
Yeah. Except Einar, who was related to him in some way.
Yeah.
But he also was a traitor to him, so yeah.
He's kind of like, I'll just go with whichever person happens to be winning at the time.
What's up with these Hedebyans? Are they just all disloyal people? What's the deal? I don't know.
It's very like Jaime Lannister behavior. Like, I'm going to defend the king until somebody better comes along, and then I'm going to murder him.
Oh, Jaime. After the latest episode, Jaime.
Wait, are you talking about yesterday's?
Yes, you haven't seen it, so I can't say anything.
No, I haven't. Be quiet. Stop talking.
So I'll say, from the episode you have seen, at that point, I have given up my hope for his redemption arc. I just don't...
Here's the thing, too, though. Why are we rooting for him? He tried to kill a child. In the show... He fathered three children with his twin sister. He pushed a boy out a window.
He raped said sister over the body of his dead son, or had consensual sex, if we're talking about the books, over the body of his dead son.
But, like...
Not so great.
Why are we rooting for him? Yeah. Do we just want him to live long enough to kill Cersei? Is that our plan?
Oh my god, what if Brienne has to kill him?
Oh, Brienne.
That would be so sad. Poor Brienne. She would be depressed if she saw that he was still...
You know what, honestly? I think that is why we want redemption for him. Because she sees something in him and we trust her.
That's true. I agree.
I think it's her that shed that light on him that makes audiences root for him. Because she wants him to be better and we trust her.
Nice analysis. I like it.
Thank you. Because that's the only thing I can figure out. Because the only time I ever really, really liked him was when he was with her.
Even when he let Tyrion out, still wasn't great.
Right.
It was the least he could do. Let's go to Kattegat. very unpleasant things happen in a multitude of ways.
Yes.
It starts out with Harbard soothing Ivar again. Ivar. We still don't know how he's soothing him. Is it some weird form of super fast hypnosis? Is he doing it with magic? What is happening?
Is it super fast? It works really fast. What did you say?
Hypnosis. Oh my god, am I still... Why do I keep doing that?
Do you say it like that in, like, other conversations?
I don't know. Hypnosis.
Do other accents say it that way? Or have you heard, like...
I don't know.
English or Australian or somebody? Do they say it like that? Because we say hypnosis, right?
Hypnosis.
Or am I the wrong one?
I don't know. They both sound okay.
Hypnosis.
Am I putting the emphasis on the wrong syllable?
I think you are.
I probably am. I don't know why I am. You'd think since we grew up together we would pronounce words the same way.
I was thinking that too. It's kind of weird. Maybe it's from like a past life. You had an accent and that's how they said it.
Did I get hypnotized to get to my past life? Was I a victim of hypnosis?
Maybe just saying the word like transports you back into those memories. I feel like we're going off track here.
What would make you say that?
I think the theory of hypnosis is a good one. It seems like he is hypnotizing him. But I also think it's magic. It's magic hypnosis.
Magic hypnosis?
Yep.
I have to think about it when I'm saying it. Okay. Siggy is not okay with this at all.
No.
She's not happy for most of this episode.
Right.
Until she dies.
She's mostly just worried the whole time.
Yeah. She asks him if he's a god. He just says, I wish. Why would one not want to be so? Do you think he's a god?
I think he might be.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it was.
I want to make a little true-false two-sided whiteboard and write down the reasons why he might be and he might not be. Do some tally marks.
We need to do pros and cons of his god status.
Yeah. One reason he might be a god. Okay, let's figure this out. Is Harbard a god? If yes, our evidence is what? He caused dreams to appear to prophesize his coming.
Yes.
He can heal Ivar.
Yes.
These healings seem to come at some sort of cost, never to him, but to others, which implies some sort of magical connection.
Mm-hmm. I think it is not a coincidence that the boys died when he showed up. So I think that's definitely in the god column.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, how did he know about Siggy and the boys in the water? He wasn't there.
Good question.
And then he was. And when he walked away, Helga watched him and he disappeared.
That's another one. Okay. All right. So we've got our true options. So Harbard is not a god. Our evidence is 1, he could just be some weird con artist guy that is good at stories and reading people.
Mm-hmm.
2, he is so suspicious with the cut on his hand, and he used that to get kind of into the Great Hall in the first place, to get sympathy from the women, which also indicates con artist.
Mm-hmm.
3, he could have just ducked around a corner when the smoke came up behind him.
Maybe he had like Peruvian darkness powder from Harry Potter.
Oh, I was thinking a Batman smoke bomb.
Smoke bomb would work too.
Okay, what else?
Also, the point could be made that the gods aren't real.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I mean, we don't know. I'm just saying.
How dare you question Odin in the Pantheon?
I'm just saying, we know that the characters believe that gods are real, but we haven't been told by the show that is true.
Rosanna, what about Raven Gandalf? Never forget Raven Gandalf.
Raven Gandalf could have just been a hallucination.
Or some old dude in a field.
Or just some random guy taking a walk on the beach with his cane and his hat and his bird. Old men like to go on walks and they like birds, so.
I have one piece of evidence that could work in both columns. He is a god and he isn't a god. He let Siggy die. In the he's not a god column, he knew that she was doubting him or didn't trust him, and he didn't want her to continue to spread that to Helga and Aslog, so he let her die. Or in the he is a god column, he knew that a sacrifice was required for the healing he had performed on Ivar earlier.
Oh.
And so he let her die for that.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Because maybe the 2 boys were supposed to die.
Yeah, I wondered why there hadn't been an apparent cost to the second healing.
And the other one cost 2 boys. And so this one sounded like it was going to cost another 2 boys.
Yeah.
Ooh, here's another one. The boys were going to drown just like the other boys died.
Yeah, they were.
So it even seems like the exact same situation, with 2 boys drowning right after a healing.
Yeah, that's weird.
And so Siggy had to make up for that. 1 grown woman is worth 2 young boys?
Well, and it did seem like the boys should not have survived that.
Yeah.
They were down there too long.
Yeah, the second one was down there a long time.
Yeah, they should have frozen. I mean...
Or died from hypothermia.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know how it could not be magic.
Okay. I don't know enough about gods impersonating regular people in Norse mythology to know if this is something they did regularly. But we know that, some Greek and Roman gods, I believe, there were stories about them pretending to be human. Mm-hmm. I think it's generally to seduce women, but
right.
Sometimes for other things. So you are in the camp of Harbard is deity.
Yeah, I think so. That makes the most sense to me.
Interesting. So back to the beginning of Kattegat scenes. Aslog is all dolled up and heading out on the town with Harbard, and Siggy is just desperate to stop her. But also, strangely, takes that moment when she realizes Aslog isn't going to stop to accept the responsibility of, I guess, making these important decisions and talking to the people.
Yeah, that was weird.
How kind of her to take over and do what she used to do.
Right. What she wanted to do all along.
Yeah. Harbard tells Aslog the story of Astrid and Olaf, who is the Grand Duke of Kiev. He also claims to be his father, because Astrid was this woman who lived on an island. She was a nymphomaniac, and he was forced to sleep with her, of course. Mm-hmm. And 9 months later, she had a son, her second son. So those are real people, Astrid and Olaf. I looked them up, and you will be excited to learn that Olaf Tryggvason is basically the Elvis of Norway, and I will tell you why. He was born on the Orkney Islands, which are the islands just above, they're just off the coast of the mainland Scotland, just below the Shetland Islands, where you have all the ponies with the sweaters and things that are so cute. Mm-hmm. And his parentage is in doubt. He was born shortly after his father died in battle, I believe. But some people say it wasn't actually she actually slept with someone else, and that was not his father. I believe his father was royalty as well. I can't remember what it said about him. So Olaf was the king of Norway from 995 to 1000.
It's not very long.
For 5 years. Yeah. Also, that's a couple hundred years after these people in Vikings lived. So the timeline's a little off.
Yeah.
Which is also funny, because he's the great-grandson of a person we have seen on the show, Olaf.
Really?
Uh-huh. The first king of Norway.
Huh.
So on the show, you've met the first king of Norway.
Who's the first king of Norway?
I just don't know.
What?
So here's the deal. The King Ragnar, King Horik, and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think they were considered like kings of the whole country.
Okay.
They were. It was. I think it was more territorial, that kind of thing.
Okay. So somebody on the show becomes the actual king of the entire country.
Yes. Yes. And maybe it is Ragnar. I'm not going to tell you, but a couple hundred years later.
I bet it's one of Ragnar's sons.
Okay. So we've got Bjorn, Ubi, Hitsvirk, Vitsirk, can never say it because it starts with an H, and Ivar. So we've got 4 possibilities there, based on your choice.
I believe it's one of them.
Yes. So Olaf promoted Christianity. He actually baptized Leif Erikson, the explorer.
Huh.
Yeah. Olaf was in a battle, and he apparently fought really hard until it was just basically all over. He was on the grandest ship in the country. I think it was called the Sea Serpent or something. And at the end of the battle, he jumped off the ship, and everyone assumed he died. Here's why he's Elvis. There were sightings of Olaf for another 50 years after that.
Wow.
He just popped up all over the country. People were sure they saw him. Even though he was definitely dead.
And probably people that didn't even know what he looked like. Because it's not like they had newspapers or cameras or...
Probably people that were born after he died.
Right. That's funny.
Yeah, that's... I just got a kick out of the story. I got to that point on the information page about him that I was reading on Wikipedia and was just like, what? Sightings till 1046? What? That's crazy. He definitely did not live that long. I'm not really sure there was a point to him telling that story.
I think the point was that he got Aslog pregnant.
Oh, you think he knocked her up?
I believe that might be a possibility. We know it's extremely easy to impregnate her.
Ragnar does have good swimmers, though. That much is...
Well, that could be it. But I mean, she obviously, is good at being pregnant, I guess. What a compliment.
She's fertile.
Yeah. So, and he made a point to say, I'm also fertile because, I had to sleep with this woman this one time and 9 months later she had what I'm assuming is my baby. So.
And not just any baby, a very important baby.
Of course. Just like when people talk about how they're reincarnated, they're never reincarnated from like a shopkeep from the old village. It's always like, I'm Cleopatra.
Cleopatra.
Yeah, exactly.
I was Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun?
What?
How do you pronounce that name?
Who?
I was going to claim to be Tutankhamun, except I can't remember how to actually say his name, so I probably wasn't him.
Probably not if you don't know how to say your own name.
Tutankhamun, I think. It's one of those you don't hear out loud very often because people just say King Tut. Probably to avoid saying it incorrectly.
He probably said hypnotist, though, so that's probably where you got it.
You shut up. Oh my god. My whole tweet about the show is going to be just that I don't know how to pronounce words. In this episode, Nikki struggles with the English language.
The only language she actually speaks, she can't speak.
That's a very good point. It's time to make my own language. Harbard sees that Aslog is worried Ragnar no longer desires her. And apparently this is all that needs to be said for him to get her to go inside and take her clothes off so he can do her up on a table. What is on that table? It looked like guts of fish or something.
I also thought that that's what it was.
Not appetizing.
Not sanitary. All kinds of bad.
No wonder she didn't take her skirt off.
Yeah. These crazy Vikings.
Also, it surprised me that she was modest.
Yeah. That was weird for her.
Not that I expect her to just, walk around naked everywhere or something, but for some reason it just seemed like she would be more confident about herself. But maybe that's part of her being sad about Ragnar.
Yeah, this is not
she's
at
lost
all
confidence in her own beauty.
The same attitude that she had when Ragnar first met her. She was very confident then, but I think this time that she spent in Kattegat and the way that the relationship with Ragnar has gone, I think that that's really hit her ego hard.
I guess also that was before she had 4 children. 4 children? 3 children. 3.
3.
Yeah, 3. Okay.
Though you sure can't tell she's got a tiny stomach and a tiny waist.
Yes. She is an Australian model, after all.
Does she actually have children?
I have no idea.
Because not a lot of women can have children and have a stomach that looks like that. I'm not saying none of them do. Some do, but not many.
Yeah. Good genes and a lot of work.
I suppose. Mostly genes, though, I'd say.
Oh, also, I saw that she had tattoos on her wrist. We hadn't seen those before. Did you notice them? They were, bracelets of stars.
I didn't.
Yeah, she had, I think there were 4 lines of stars on her wrist. I had never noticed them before. So maybe she has always had them and I did not know. Well, this is happening. Siggy's back in the great house, putting on Aslog's furs and sitting in the throne and missing her old position. She's also surprisingly kind to the boys. When they ask where Aslog is, she explains that sometimes mothers have to sacrifice for their children. And Aslog is with Harbard for Ivar, which is nice of her, but I feel like at least Yubi is probably old enough to kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that there's something going on. Maybe he doesn't know what it is. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
The boys run off. Siggy is a little frightened, inexplicably, about not knowing where they are, and so she goes after them. Do you think it was another God's given feeling that she was worried about them? She was frightened?
I think she's just been anxious for a long time, and I think that her last visit to the seer didn't give her any reassurance at all. So she's probably just like on high alert all the time.
And maybe she doesn't remember consciously, but she may be associating Ivar's previous healing and the two boys that died.
Right.
And now Ivar's been healed again, and now the two boys have run off.
Right. Yeah, it could be.
So that could be scary. She sees them walking across the frozen pond, and when she steps on the ice, it starts to crack. Which makes me wonder, if she had not followed them, would they have been okay?
I don't know. I don't know that much about frozen lakes.
I'm assuming the crack went out to them, because it cracked on her, and then it seemed to reach them, and they fell. But I don't know. I don't spend much time on frozen lakes either.
Yeah, I try to avoid pretty much any situation that could put me in ice-cold death water.
Ice-cold death water?
Yeah, that's what it is.
She just starts running flat out to get to them, and can't find them. It's pulling pieces of ice out of it. Just obviously is very, very cold. She jumps in and manages to get one. And when she gets back to the surface, it's her daughter there. Her dead daughter, Theory or Teary. And she sees her, and they're just kind of holding hands and smiling at each other until she realizes she has to go back down for the other one. And she does. And I'm sure she's sad because she doesn't know if she'll see her daughter again. Do you think this is also something about Harbard maybe being a god, or do you think it's just her starting to get hypothermia and hallucinating?
I think it's just her.
She goes back and gets the other boy, makes it back up, and it's Harbard, and she is very surprised. And he pulls the other boy out of the water, and then just kind of cocks his head at her, like, now you have to go down yourself. Doesn't try to pull her out, which he could very easily do, but lets her sink down, and she's way too cold at this point to be able to continue. And she just sinks down in the water, and there she is. Maybe they'll find her in the spring thaw. Who knows?
Gross.
Fine. This is where it gets gross. You've been watching the show for a while now. So why don't you think he pulled her up? Do you think it's for the ideas we had before, or anything different?
I think that if he wanted to stay in Kattegat, he would have pulled her out, because him saving her might have made her less suspicious of him.
Oh,
but by letting her die, he has to leave. Which, it's weird too, because the conversation he has with them later, Helga and Aslog know that he didn't help her. Did he come in there and say, here are your sons, Aslog. Also, Siggy died because I didn't pull her out too. They're mad at him.
Here's what I think about that. Even if he didn't tell them the whole story, I would be very suspicious of a man who came back with my two sons and then just said, oh, and Siggy died, and didn't explain, or even if he did give some story about it. And also, they both saw that Siggy was suspicious of him. So it puts him in a very untrustworthy position, no matter what he said.
I think if he wanted to stay, he would have saved her. I'm not sure why he didn't care enough about her not to save her, because he very easily could have.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to see him again?
I don't know. I feel like maybe not.
Okay.
I don't know. He's a wanderer. He may wander back.
Yeah. I'm the wanderer. Go around and around, 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 around. Sorry, I couldn't help it. I don't think I sang that for the actual episode called The Wanderer, so I couldn't stop myself this time. I feel like we should have some, not ceremony, but some sort of thing to say when people die. Some send-off.
Oh, we're kind of too late. We've lost a lot of people already.
I'm sure we'll lose some more.
That's probably true.
Vikings. In honor of Siggy. Here's to Siggy, former Earl's wife, kind of wife to an alcoholic.
You are not speaking at my funeral.
Sexer-upper of kings, saver of boys. May she drink with the gods in Valhalla. Siggy! Skull!
To Siggy.
To Siggy. Skull. It's Skull, right? Yeah. Skull!
Yeah, Skull!
Harbard said that she was in Valhalla, but that's only for fighters, right?
Is it?
I was under the impression that that was for fighters. Everyone else went to hell. Which I can understand why they wouldn't want to say that she went to hell.
Right.
Because we see that as a very different thing than they did. When they were talking about just Hel, which is just the domain of the goddess Hel.
Right.
It was just kind of like heaven. It was like heaven. It wasn't Valhalla heaven, but it was heaven.
Right. Less halls and doors.
Far fewer spears. Let's move on to Mercia. We start out with Thorin, who has a poultice on her face with a cloth, which just reminded me of all the gross poultices that Locke got in the Lies of Locke Lamora from Ibelius.
Yeah.
He was always complaining about them.
Because they stink.
Yeah. Aethelwulf has learned some Norse.
Mm-hmm.
And tries to make friends with Rollo and Floki.
Yes.
Rollo seems pretty cool with being bros, but Floki is just appalled at the idea of it. That he would ever condescend to be friends with a Christian.
Right.
I think it's kind of cute. Aethelwulf trying to be friends,
yes.
Not Floki.
I think it's cute too. And you know, like I said during the last episode, I liked him better last episode than I ever liked him before. And this makes me like him even more.
Yeah, he's actually taken the time to learn enough. And it's not like he just learned one line of one thing to say to them. He actually learned enough to understand some too.
Right. I guess when you don't have TV and the internet and cell phones and stuff, you've got more time on your hands to like learn other languages. That must be our problem.
It also means that he convinced someone
to teach him.
Mm-hmm. There are a pretty limited number of people who can speak both languages. So who the heck taught him?
I don't know. Not Ragnar, because Ragnar doesn't like him. He made that very clear. He literally said, I don't like you.
And he does not like Athelstan, so I doubt it was
right.
Athelstan.
I don't know. Maybe there is somebody else in the group that knows a little bit from some other circumstance. I don't know. Maybe, no, I don't know. Maybe he just listened really closely, like when people move to the United States and they watch TV for 4 days straight, and then they can sort of speak English. I don't know.
I feel like that's not true. 4 days? Well, that's all it takes, 4 days of TV.
It certainly wouldn't do me any good to watch TV in a foreign country, because I would not learn anything. I would just be frustrated the whole time.
Yeah. But Rollo thinks they can't fight ever when they have to make alliances. That's the way forward.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, Floki appears to be pretty unadaptable. Ragnar is still injured, so Kwenthrith pees on him. Which is not a treatment I would recommend or understand.
No.
Not quite sure what that was about.
I think it was a sterilizing thing, but it's really weird.
Yeah.
Is that a common practice in that area? I don't know.
I don't know.
I can't imagine. I don't know. She's so weird.
He tells her that her brother is weak and will be her downfall. And she doesn't trust Eckbert, which is very smart of her.
Yeah.
It seems like maybe they're about to have sex. Maybe. We don't see anything.
I think they do.
Okay.
I was under the assumption that they did.
It's implied, but yeah, I don't know. When they start sailing back to Wessex, Kwenthrith is trying to convince Mouthbreather it's better to be prisoners than dead. I think it depends on who is holding your prisoner. But
yep.
Floki thinks it's Athelstan's fault that Thorin is hurt. Somehow, because he brought Christianity to them and got Ragnar involved, that filtered down Thorin getting injured in battle.
Yeah.
It's a
stretch, Floki.
That's a stretch. Yeah. Let people take some responsibility for their own choices.
Right.
Not everything is Athelstan's fault.
Or Ragnar's.
Yeah. We get to Wessex. Before they arrive, we see Athelstan and Judith in bed together. And I was really sad we didn't get to see them, how they got to that point.
Right.
Because last time we saw them, she was rebuffing him, and they were both feeling guilty.
It seemed like they were making good choices
but they
then.
Yeah. They don't seem to feel guilty anymore.
Nope.
Until her husband returns. And then there's some guilt. Only on his side, it seems like.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But they're officially in love. And it's very sweet if you don't think too much about it. And also, I'm glad that they made it seem like a big deal to her. Later, when they're kissing, she says, I gave myself to you.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been easy for them to let her kind of play it off for pride.
Right.
As I wasn't a virgin or anything, so it wasn't a big deal. But I'm glad they don't do that. We get to see the only people having sex that are not cheating on anyone, which is Eckbert and Lagertha. I'm guessing you're not surprised that they finally hooked up.
No, I'm not surprised.
He wants her to stay, and she has to go back to look after her people. We also get reminded that Lagertha is very smart and is not incredibly sentimental when she says that he made her happy, but the only person he truly cares for is himself. Burn! I'm just picturing Kelso on that 70s show. Burn!
And I like that they let her have that and say that, so it doesn't seem like she's been taken in by him. She's made these decisions, but she's not letting her feelings for him dictate her decisions.
I agree. And then everyone arrives back from Mercia. They come in very staggered, like they are planning to each have their turn with King Egbert. Like it's a wedding procession or something.
Yes, it was like that.
One after the other.
A receiving line.
Yeah. Have they had enough time to be greeted by Egbert? Okay, now it's my turn to go in the door. Aethelwulf is welcomed by his father and reluctant wife. Mm-hmm. She looks very guilty. She does not have a good poker face.
No.
Though Egbert is all about lying for her. She's been praying and weeping for your return.
In the chapel.
Spending so much time in the chapel.
Mm-hmm. With her confessor. Yeah.
And Kwenthrith and Mouthbreather greet Egbert too. Burgred says, "Sire, my sister has told me you are a most generous and forgiving monarch. I throw myself completely at your mercy." It's like he practiced with Quen on the way. I can almost see her mouthing the words along with him as he's saying them.
Yep.
It's just, like I need some help.
Not anymore.
Well, I guess not anymore. Oh man, and Ragnar, everybody's at the feast after this. Ragnar comes in and he's just not having it with Egbert. Or anybody, really.
Yeah. He's
trying to give Lagertha grief for sleeping with Egbert. But she saw the look that Kwenthrith was looking at him with.
Right.
And so there's not going to be any slut-shaming here.
Right.
Everything is okay. And then later, Aethelwulf is drunk. Like he said, he stops Ragnar to say, "Hello, brother," and Ragnar's just like, "I don't like you. Leave me alone." And he just stumbles away to go say hi to somebody else.
Yeah. It's very much like another one of those high school party kind of themes.
Yes.
It feels like that the way the post-battle
Can't Hardly
celebration
Wait.
did.
Is that the movie?
Yeah, it's like when Vikings win a battle and they start drinking, they turn into teenagers. All of them.
Oh, it's so much fun.
You've got the moody one, which is Ragnar, who goes and pouts in the corner and stares at everybody. And then you've got Aethelwulf, who wants to be everybody's friend. And then Floki, who starts spouting off philosophy. And then you've got the girl that cheated on her boyfriend, drunk. And she's all awkward. And they've got all the characters covered.
Yes, they really do. I really need someone to cut this into a party scene. They just need to change the music. I think that would work and lighten it up a bit.
And then Egbert is the super popular jock that the party's at his house.
Oh, yeah. His parents are away.
And Lagertha's like really cool girl that everybody wants to be friends with. And she's just like very nonchalant. Just like, yeah, I'm cool, whatever. Oh my god, this is totally a high school party.
I slept with him, but I'm not going to be his girlfriend.
Right.
Whatever.
I have things to do. I'm applying to Dartmouth later, so...
I just needed something to pass the time.
Yeah. But then there's a murder, which that doesn't usually happen at high school parties, so...
That's the after party, though.
Right.
It really is.
Unless it's the high school party from, like, I Know What You Did Last Summer, or something like that.
Oh my god. We get a cut to Björn, who goes to visit Thorin, who's lying down with some, all I can think of is maesters, but doctors. Been watching too much Game of Thrones today. And her injury is bad. Oh man. Like a flap of skin gone from her cheek. Her eye is swollen so much she can't even open it. She's still just all cut up.
Her forehead is split open in the middle.
Yeah. And she's afraid that Björn doesn't want to marry her anymore. And he says not to worry about that.
You know what he should have said? This is what I wanted him to say. I'm pretty enough for both of us. Because that's what...
He totally is.
Yeah, because that's what Flora Delacour says when Bill Weasley gets attacked by the werewolf. And
that's right.
She thinks Molly thinks that she doesn't want to marry Bill anymore because he's scarred. And she says, I'm pretty enough for the both of us. And so is Bjorn.
Oh, yes, he is. He is our little Disney prince.
Yes, he is.
Or, sorry, big Disney prince.
Yeah.
Man, that guy's huge.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that we had that little moment and saw that he is interested in her for more than just her looks, which is what caught his eye in the first place.
Right.
And there's a big feast. Egbert wants Lagertha and Athelstan to stay, and Athelstan wants to discuss it with Ragnar first, which is when we get confirmation that Egbert definitely knows about him and Judith doing the nasty.
He's got spies. It's his castle.
Yeah. Surprised Aethelwulf hasn't noticed yet, considering everyone else has.
Well, he hasn't been back that long, and he's drunk.
That's true. Do you think he's going to find out?
Yeah.
Ah. When?
I don't know. Maybe she'll tell him, because Aethelstan's going to leave, and she's going to be so upset. And he's like, why are you so upset? I'm home now. Yeah, but I don't like you.
My boyfriend went back to raid. Ragnar's hanging out with one of the English helmets.
That is so Ragnar.
Oh, that's so Raven. Oh my god, that could work because all the ravens with Odin.
Oh my god.
So
that's so Raven. That's funny.
I've seen people taking the picture of, like, the old poster from that show and putting Bran on it and said, that's so three-eyed Raven.
Oh my gosh. I've also
It's
seen, That's so Ravenclaw.
So Ragnar and Athelstan have a little conversation about women, for the most part, where Ragnar says that everyone is free to do as they please. And I think that maybe helps Athelstan decide that he is going to definitely go back. And he goes and talks to Judith to tell her, and they're doing a little making out in the hall. Floki sees them, so now he's got some little blackmail material. I felt like he was one of Varys' little birds, just kind of sneaking around, seeing what's going on.
Yep.
Now, Egbert and Ragnar are talking, just the two of them, kind of alone in the middle of this whole big party. And Ragnar sees right through Egbert.
Oh, yeah.
When he's talking about his motivations. And he really doesn't seem to believe him about the settlement being important either. And then they have this cute little moment where they both say they are good men, but they are also very corrupt men. And the way they cut to the next scene made me think that Floki had heard that too. Like he was hiding underneath whatever platform they were on, listening.
Oh.
But then we saw he's just sitting outside.
Yeah.
He thinks the gods are angry, and that eventually they're going to have to choose between Ragnar and the gods, which obviously puts him in a bad position because of his love for both.
And also Rollo's like,
Rollo doesn't think...
no, we're not. Just chill, Floki. Jeez. Take a night off.
Yeah. Well, we also find out that Lagertha still trusts Baby Cow.
Yeah. And she got the wrong read on him.
Yeah.
That's an unusual misstep for her.
Do you think there's any chance that this is actually the plan?
No.
Oh. No double cross?
I don't think so.
All right.
But I also still am in the camp where it's like, so what if he wants to rule? Just let him. Why do you even need to go back? Don't go back. Tell all of your men that you brought with you, you can either go home to Hedeby or you can stay here with me. And then just stay.
Well, there's not really a place for her at Kattegat, though.
No, not at Kattegat.
Not with Aslog there.
Stay at the settlement.
Oh.
Be a farmer. That's what she wants.
Yeah. I think she may have gotten a taste for being important.
Maybe.
Not that she couldn't be happy just as a farmer, but I mean, she's good with the people. She was very good at resolving disputes.
Yeah, but just because she's good at it doesn't mean that's what she wants. Plus, she could be the Earl of the settlement. Or whatever you call
I wonder if...
the people under a king, not literally, that rule areas, like a sheriff or like a governor, or I don't know.
My God, now I want her to be the Sheriff of Nottingham. Can we have a gender reverse Robin Hood?
But the Sheriff of Nottingham's a jerk.
So, it could be like Mean Girls.
What? No! No, Lagertha's so
Oh my God,
nice.
Regina George as the Sheriff of Nottingham. This is like my ultimate fantasy movie now that I just invented and had no idea how much I needed it until right now.
She would be good at that.
She would be so good. Oh, that'd be amazing. Egbert could give her a title.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah.
Or he could marry her.
She could be a queen.
She could be.
We've been calling her that this whole time.
She's already our queen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think is Lagertha's future?
I don't know.
Do you see her getting her earldom back? Or getting higher positions, losing her earldom? Maybe she does go back to England to become a farmer. Maybe she stays. Maybe she goes to a completely different place. What do you think? I mean, we know she's supposed to see the city made of marble.
Maybe she'll go back to Hedeby and make some sort of arrangement for someone else to run it. So she's free to go other places, to travel, to go back to England, to visit Bjorn and Kattegat. She's going to be a grandmother, you know.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that she's not going to stay settled for a long time. I think she's got a lot of places that she's probably going to go.
All right. We get to the after party. It's just the important people. Basically all the people with titles in the room and the people married to them. We have all the kings. Got Ayla, Egbert, and Ragnar. I think Rollo's there, but we've got
Rollo's
Judith and
Rollo's
Aethelwulf.
Because after the brother dies, he and Ragnar both dip their cups at the same time.
That's right.
Oh my god, that was the greatest part of the
great.
whole show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a great scene. And then everybody else just dumps their cups out too after, and they still toast.
That was so
They
funny.
dump the cups. Oh, that was great. My god. Before that, everybody's sitting around and Kwenthrith starts kind of her own toast. She wants, what's his name? She wants mouth breather. I should say his name one last time. Bergred, because we're not talking about him anymore, probably.
Right.
To toast to their collective rule of Mercia. And he drinks the wine. And right after she immediately, and then she pours her own goblet out, which she could have let someone else take the blame for it, but she obviously wants everyone to know it was her, including him.
Yep.
And then just tries to hold his hand as he's dying from poison. Does not look pleasant.
No, not as bad as Joffrey, but pretty bad.
Yeah. And Ragnar and Egbert look pretty chagrined. Ayla is not amused by this situation.
No.
And it shows her standing there, and she looks just really badass for a moment. Mm-hmm. Standing like, I'm now a queen, I got what I wanted, and it's all mine. And now you're all a little afraid of me.
Yeah.
So now we have 3 kings and a queen. So I feel like we have maybe too many
monarchs.
Rulers. Yeah. For a small place. Mm-hmm. I mean, England's not a huge place.
Well, Ragnar doesn't count.
Granted, it feels a lot...
Ragnar doesn't count.
It feels a lot bigger without cars, but still.
Yeah.
I think 3 monarchs in that small place is excessive.
Especially those monarchs.
None of them trustworthy.
No.
None of them benevolent.
And one of them completely...
all willing
insane.
To kill.
Like, totally certifiably crazy.
What do you think Kwenthrith is?
Yeah.
Really? I don't know about that.
Yeah, she's crazy.
Be crazy like a fox.
No, I think she's crazy like somebody who had a very, very difficult childhood. She's got some issues that
she does.
That she needs therapy for.
Yes.
Also, she...
Maybe more than Rollo. Okay. Probably more than Rollo.
She literally murdered her brother in front of a room full of people. I think she's at least somewhat crazy. Sane people don't do that. Because, here's the thing. He was 0 threat to her. 0.
Oh, I don't know if that's true.
What?
So, okay, I know what you mean. 0 threat is... He was not an active danger to her, but he was a threat to her in that... Ragnar was right. He did make her weak. He made her do things she wouldn't necessarily have... He made her make choices she wouldn't necessarily have made just to try to keep him safe. I think that she bowed to Egbert a lot more than she would have if it were just her.
That could be.
Trying to keep him alive. So I do think that him being alive was a danger to her.
Well, but her being weaker, making decisions based on that, is not the same as him being a threat to her.
Yeah.
And that he was not. I can understand her doing that to protect herself from herself, but not to protect herself from him.
Next week, we're going to discuss Season 3, Episode 5, The Usurper. I'm going to make a guess as to who that might be about.
I mean, it could be a bunch of people, but I'm going to go with Baby Cow.
Okay. Oh, Calf. So pretty, but not that cunning, it seems like. I mean, he did trick Lagertha.
I guess.
But do you think there's any way he can keep tricking her when she comes back? Do you think he's going to try some plot to kill her or convince her it was all for her?
No. I think he's pretty full of himself, so he's going to say, well, look, Lagertha, they made me Earl. They obviously don't want you. They want me. I mean, I think his ego is going to be what keeps him on this path of ridiculousness.
You ready for your top 3?
Yes.
What's your category?
My category is 3 pairs of characters who had sex with people they weren't married to, and then I also have a bonus couple.
Ooh, okay.
So the first one, Aslog and Harbard, not married to each other. Aslog definitely married to somebody else. Second, Judith and Athelstan, not married to each other. Judith definitely married to somebody else.
So is that only the second time Athelstan ever had sex?
Yeah.
If we're assuming that he actually had sex with Theory before.
Right.
She seemed pretty happy with him. Considering that
he's a natural.
His experience is pretty minimal. He is very caring and thoughtful, and I would expect him to pay attention.
That's true.
To the woman's body.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised.
Coitus.
If he was good at it, I suppose.
He's no Jon Snow in the cave, but...
No kidding. You know, he's... Number 3, Kwenthrith and Ragnar. Ragnar definitely not married to Kwenthrith, and he definitely is married to somebody else. So, those are the 3 top adulterers.
We didn't actually see that sex happen. It was, unlike the other ones, it was only implied. Do you think that...
I feel pretty secure.
His adultery cancels out Aslog's adultery?
See, that's not really how adultery works, Nikki. I don't know how it works in your marriage. But no, they don't cancel each other out. Betrayal is betrayal. Ooh. And then my bonus couple, Lagertha and Egbert. Now, they're not married to other people, but they're also not married to each other. So, yes. They technically qualify in my having sex with people they're not married to.
That's true.
So that's 4 couples.
You're not cheating on anyone, which is nice.
In one episode.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot more sex than we're used to.
Yeah, I got to the end of the episode and I was like, what's my top 3 going to be? Well, heck, I've got 4. That was easy. Yeah. So that's my top 3.
So we've already done a lot of predictions throughout the action. What do you think is next? Are they all heading home? Are they sticking around for a while?
This is hard. I think that Ragnar and Athelstan and Bjorn and Thorin are for sure going to go home.
That leaves Rollo and Floki.
I think Rollo and Floki will also go home. Lagertha, I'm pretty sure, is going back to Hedeby. Aethelwulf is going to go home to Judith, and it's going to be awkward. I don't know what's going to happen there. Egbert is going to pine over his woman and best friend. 2 separate people. Not that that's the same person.
Yes.
His lady and his BFF. He's going to be real sad about Apple being gone.
Maybe he'll give him one of those little heart necklaces where they each have one half of the heart.
Aww.
One says best and the other says friends.
He should do that.
I mean, Ragnar gave him a bracelet.
It's true. Several people are going to stay for the settlement, but I don't think we know any of them. So
I don't think so either. We haven't seen anyone we know there except Lagertha and Athelstan.
I wonder if Egbert will ever go visit Kattegat or Hedeby.
That'd be cool.
Maybe he'd show up at Hedeby to be backup for Lagertha to take care of this baby cow business. To turn him into veal. What?
Oh my god. It's gone too far. Considering what's happened with other people leaving the areas they controlled, Ragnar and Lagertha in particular, and having them taken over, I feel like Egbert would be more wary than they were about that, about losing his control while he was gone.
Well, but he's got Aethelwulf there.
That's true.
So I don't...
Probably not gonna turn on him.
I don't think so. He finally got his father's approval.
Yes. So. God, I can't wait until you see everything else that happens.
That's really rude, Nikki.
There are so many things. that are happening in Wessex that are just, you're going to be appalled.
And I can't even guess.
I don't
even, how could I possibly?
No, you can't.
There's nothing for me.
Listeners, you know exactly what I'm talking about. With Egbert, Rosanna has no clue and she would never guess at all. It's great.
Does he marry Kwenthrith?
I don't know. I was going to ask for you to give me one wild, crazy, weirdest, speculative prediction you can think of. As out there as you can come up with.
I think that Egbert might marry Kwenthrith, or he might die.
Okay.
But I think he should marry Lagertha. But I don't think that's going to happen. That's not very strategic for him. Do you think
she's ever going to get married again?
Yes, I think she will. I also still carry a tiny little flame for Ragnartha. Because they're so well suited.
They're obviously both a little bit jealous of each other's dalliances.
Yes, and I love every scene they have together. I mean, Aslog would have to die. So
I do think that Lagertha is basically the only person that can both call him on his BS and actually make him listen.
Yes. Well, he listens to Athelstan too. But Athelstan doesn't challenge him. Lagertha does.
No. Yeah.
Athelstan is a lot more subservient to Ragnar than Lagertha ever was.
Any more predictions about Thorn and Bjorn?
I don't know.
It seems like she lived.
I think she'll probably recover. Obviously, she's going to be scarred.
Do you think she's still pregnant?
They haven't talked about it, but it's not like, a movie they'd make now where they do an ultrasound as soon as somebody gets, treatment. So maybe no. But I think, though, if she was losing the baby, she would know by now.
Okay.
So I don't know. Then it also, of course, goes back to having a baby right now would be very inconvenient. So, I don't know.
Anything else for all the events in Kattegat? Everyone's going to come back. Siggy's going to be dead. Ragnar may or may not find out. Do you think he's going to find out about Harbard?
Well, I'm wondering about if Aslog is pregnant, because that might be a pretty good indicator. So,
and if the timelines match up, if what we saw in Kattegat was the same time as what we saw in England, it's probably going to be a while before they get home. So it's not like she could just sex up Ragnar real quick and have him think it was his kid.
I don't think so.
I would assume it'd be a couple months or something. I'm not sure how long it takes to sail that distance. Though they've never given us any indication of how long that takes, so maybe it's a lot faster.
Maybe it's a month.
Maybe it's a couple weeks.
Maybe it's a year. Maybe it's 4 years. I don't know.
The time jumps in this show, unpredictable. Yeah. Or do you think maybe we'll get another time jump and Aslog will have like another 18-year-old kid or something? And
I do not think there will be a mid-season time jump of that much.
I don't know.
But if
the show has not given us any consistency on their time jumps.
But if Ragnar pulls up in his boat and Aslog comes out pregnant, that would not go over well with him. So,
I wonder if he'd finally know how Lagertha felt when Aslog showed up pregnant.
Ragnar, his ego is too big for that to occur to him. No one else would ever feel what he's feeling. I think that his head's too big for that.
Also, I can't imagine anyone that lived in Kattegat and knew Ragnar and knew about Ragnar would ever risk sleeping with Aslog.
Oh gosh, no.
It would take a stranger, a wanderer, to do that.
Yep.
Is there anybody else we're missing? What's the deal with Floki? What's happening?
I don't know if Floki needs, to be medicated or if he needs to see a therapist. He's got major issues. He's been really pouty lately. I don't like that. I much prefer him giggling creepily and
I miss that.
And
it's been
a little
while.
more carefree.
He used to be carefree, and then he got married, and then he was too happy. Had to go and ruin it.
Well, I don't think that's when it changed, though. I think it was coming before that. I don't think that helped, but he's been sort of on this downward slope since, I guess maybe since Horik showed up and started really making Floki question everybody else's commitment to the faith, not his own.
Do people question his commitment to sparkle motion?
Is that a religion? Because it sounds awesome.
You don't think it was Athelstan's arrival?
Yeah, I guess maybe. Well, Yeah, I guess it was probably Appelstan because of Ragnar's reaction to him.
Yeah, that's when he started having the kind of sibling rivalry feeling.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to how Floki feels about Ragnar. And he doesn't have as much confidence in him, I think, as he used to.
Oh.
And he doesn't know how to
Do you
deal
think
with
it's
it.
real this time?
Well,
Because he pretended that last season.
I, I don't think that he is. I think that Ragnar has disappointed Floki. And I
Oh.
think that Floki is not the kind of person that forgives that. So for Ragnar to come back from that would take a huge effort on his part, which I don't think Ragnar is willing to put in because I don't think he thinks he did anything wrong. So he doesn't think he has anything to apologize to Floki for, which I agree with that. I don't think he needs to apologize.
And he seems like he's lost patience with Floki, too.
Yeah. So, he's a fanatic and he's not very forgiving. He's not very, sort of live and let live kind of guy.
He's definitely not that kind of guy.
And he gets so mad at the Christians, but he's just as fanatical as they are. He's doing the exact same things that they are doing in the name of his faith, condemning the other religion, but he can't see that they're so alike that way because he thinks he's right and they're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's weighing on him because he's trying to, and I think part of it too is that he's trying to get all of the people that he cares about to stay on the path that he thinks will lead them to Valhalla because that's the most important thing. And he sees them veering off the path, and that's difficult for him. And I don't know if there's a way for him to come to terms with that.
He's like a meddling mother.
Yeah, he is. I mean, at least he has Helga, and I think her faith is just as strong as his is, even if she's not as vocal. He just needs to go home and hang out with her for a little while. Go hang out with your daughter, Floki. Jeez.
Now it's time for Cheek of the Week, where we talk about something awesome that we want to share with you. Rosanna, it's your turn. What's your cheek this week?
My cheek this week is an author, and 2 of the books that he's written a lot more than that, but I've only read 2 so far. The author's name is Jean Duchette, Doucette, Jean Duchette. And the first book that I read by him is called The Spaceship Next Door.
It sounds interesting.
So it takes place in a small town in Massachusetts. A spaceship lands in an open field and then does nothing for 3 years. It just sits there. Nobody comes out. Nobody goes in. It doesn't leave. It just sits there for 3 years. And when people try, and of course they build this entire military base around it because they think it's the beginning of an invasion. The military's all over it. And they just watch it for like 3 years. And when anyone tries to get close to it, to touch it or to look closer at it or to see if it opens, they all of a sudden remember something else that they're supposed to be doing.
I left the oven on.
Yeah, so no one can ever get near it. So it's this really kind of quirky sci-fi book. I listened to it as an audiobook, and the narrator is named Steve Carlson, and he actually narrates the other book that Jean Duchette wrote also that I'm going to talk about. And he's a good narrator. So it's this adorable little quirky sci-fi book about a spaceship that lands next door.
Nice.
And then the next book that I read is called Fixer. So Fixer is about a man named Corrigan Bain who can see a little bit into the future. So he can see 5 seconds or a minute or a few hours, depending on what the event is. Sometimes he can see it the day before. But he can have a complete conversation with someone, answering all of their questions before they actually ask them, because he can already see what they're going to ask him. And he goes, and in the morning he gets up and he looks at a map and he sees what events are going to happen that day to people, accidents, and he goes and prevents them. So somebody getting hit by a bus or falling out of a window or whatever, and he prevents these accidents. Well, the story also goes into some of his childhood and his background, and how, of course, as a child, this was extremely difficult for him because he didn't understand what was happening. He also didn't understand that this didn't happen to other people.
Oh, yeah.
And so they go back and forth between the present and the past, and then there comes a day where he doesn't see anything that's going to happen that day, and then that happens for several days in a row, and he's just sort of lost, and he doesn't know what his purpose is. I really enjoyed both of the books, and Jean Duchette has written a bunch of books. There's a lot more. I just discovered him. He writes a series of books called Immortal, and then it looks like he's just released another book called Unfiction, which I don't know about that one yet, but that'll probably be the next one I listen to. So yeah, he's this super cool author with really interesting ideas for stories that, you know, I don't know what's going to happen next, which is great.
People, you should definitely listen to Rosanna's recommendations, because I recently finished reading her early show recommendation of, which one was it? It was 14. The book 14 by Peter Clines. Freaking amazing. I read it in like a day and a half. I could not stop reading it. It was so good.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah. You should definitely.
I love finding these sort of quirky, it's like kind of sci-fi, but there's so much more to it. They're just really weird, and I love them.
Yeah, I never used to be into sci-fi, but I like it when it's more, it's more on the side of just general fiction, where it's more human.
I like it when it's sci-fi on Earth
mix. Yeah.
I don't like
really
space sci-fi.
Other planet stuff.
Yeah.
I just want different technology and what Clark's third law, that when any technology sufficiently advanced is indistinguishable from magic, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, the spaceship next door is it's so weird. They're both, the fixer is really weird too. They're just, and I don't know how they read because I listen to them as audiobooks.
Oh, okay.
But I feel like it would just be even better if you read it to yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because you can put your own stuff in it, your own voices and stuff. That's our episode. You can keep up with us on Twitter at SomeCheek, Facebook.com/SomeCheek, and Instagram at Something Cheeky Podcast. You can also visit our website to find all of our Cheeks of the Week, learn about our other shows on popular books, TV shows, and movies, and send us questions and feedback at somethingcheekypodcast.com.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider making a donation to help us cover our production costs. Just click the donate button on our website at somethingcheekypodcast.com. If you can't donate, leaving a review on iTunes also helps a huge amount. Any of this would be very much appreciated, listeners. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week. La